you could see interest rates in the United States go up 50 to 100%. You could see gold up 100 or 200. You could see the banking system collapse. What I'm saying is, as serious as it was in 1973, and I have been in gas lines that you had to wait 4 hours to get fuel, it's going to be 100 times worse today.
This is Kaiser Johnson with Liberty and Finance, and this is the Miles Franklin Weekly Special for October 30th through November 6th, 2023, while supplies last. This week we feature 3 different specials: 1 ounce Silver Philharmonics at $3.10 over spot, 1 ounce Platinum Kangaroos at $85 over spot, and pre-33 $10 gold Liberties in AU condition at $1.15 over melt. First, the Silver Austrian Philharmonic is one of the most popular bullion coins in Europe, and frequently regarded as one of the most beautiful as well, displaying musical instruments on one side and the famed Great Organ of the Golden Hall on the other, all in 3/9 fine pure silver and made by the 900-year-old Austrian Mint. 2023 Silver Philharmonic is available at just $3.10 over spot. Next, we have the 1 ounce Platinum Kangaroo from the Perth Mint at just $85 over spot. Many consider platinum to be highly undervalued at the moment, since over the last 30 years, platinum has generally been significantly more expensive than gold, but currently sits at less than half the spot price. Best of all, the 1 ounce Platinum Kangaroo is just $85 over spot, giving you access to a premier coin in a premier metal at one of the lowest prices in 20 years. Finally, the Gold Liberty is one of the most famed gold coins in history, a physical reminder of the gold standard and hard currency in the United States. Minted from 1838 through 1907, the $10 Liberty offers just under half a troy ounce of gold in a 90% fine coin. These coins are in AU almost uncirculated condition and available at just $115 over melt, offering a great way to hold American history at a great price. To order our specials or any of the many other options we have available, call us at 1-888-81-LIBERTY. That's 1-888-815-4237. We're available after hours and on weekends, and we look forward to speaking with you.
Hey everyone, this is Elijah K. Johnson with Liberty and Finance. And back with us today is our good friend Bob Moriarty, Marine naval aviator and financial author. Bob, thank you so much for joining us today.
We're in interesting times.
Definitely interesting times. It seems like things are escalating as we speak, unfortunately. I did want to ask you about the conflict in the Middle East and how that could be impacting a possible oil embargo coming soon. So your perspective on how would an oil embargo affect the financial system and energy markets?
It would pretty much yank the rug right out from underneath the Western debt-based system. As I've said many times in the past, this is a global conflict between the debt-based system of the West and a resource-based system of the East, and it's coming to a head rapidly. As far as I can tell, the only thing that could prevent World War III right now would be an oil embargo. And as catastrophic as it would be for the financial system, it would beat the alternative.
I think that's a good point there, that rising energy prices would definitely be better than World War III. Can you walk us through what kind of an impact an oil embargo would have? And I mean, we have seen something similar in the past. So do you think it would be similar or worse than what we've seen before?
That's a really good way of putting it. Of course, I was around in 73. At the end of the 1973 war, the Arabs declared an oil embargo. Oil was $3 a barrel. It went to $12 a barrel. And to put that in today's terms, we could go from $90 a barrel today to $360 a barrel. But the world's financial system is in far more danger today. I mean, we could go on for hours about how catastrophic things are in the financial system. Credit card defaults are the highest they've ever been in the small banks. The average interest rate charged for credit cards is 29%. The 5-year, 10-year, 30-year Treasury bills are right at 5%. And these are catastrophic all by themselves. If we had $360 a barrel of oil, you could literally turn the lights off.
I think that would be catastrophic for the financial system. So it seems like this might be then the catalyst for the collapse that you've been calling for so much time now, or your perspective on that?
Absolutely. And this is what's sick. It would be a horrible thing to happen, but the alternative is far more horrible. And there's so many of the smartest guys I know who say the United States is skidding to World War III. Every day it gets worse. Now, did you follow what Bolivia did today? And it's important because it's relatively meaningless. However, it's showing the direction. Bolivia broke off relations with Israel because of what's going on in Gaza. And the world is picking sides just as it did in World War I, but the effect would be 1,000 times worse. So when Bolivia decides to break off relations with Israel, how many other countries are thinking the same thing?
It's definitely quite concerning how there's a lot of sides being taken and yeah, a lot of division there, just as you mentioned, similar to other world wars. We have a question here from Christopher about military spending and your perspective, if that could be an excuse for the Fed to reverse.
If an oil embargo was announced today, things would happen so quickly that it wouldn't make any difference what the Fed did. You could see interest rates in the United States go up 50 to 100%. You could see gold up 100 or 200. You could see the banking system collapse. What I'm saying is, as serious as it was in 1973, and I have been in gas lines that you had to wait 4 hours to get fuel, it's going to be 100 times worse today. We have Turkey on one side, we have Iraq on that side, we have Iran on that side, we have Saudi Arabia on that side, we have Oman on that side. And they could literally shut off oil to Europe.
We have a viewer here asking about preparation, right? In these times, it can kind of be difficult because we don't really know what tomorrow brings, right? We've talked about investing in precious metals, but this viewer also wants to know about investing in land. You know, if they have a certain amount of, dry powder, would it be best in your view? And this obviously is going to be an individual answer for every person, but can you shed some light on investing in precious metals as preparedness for this collapse versus, a good amount of land? The Cletus wants to know, like gold versus 5 to 10 acres of land.
That's pretty good. I mean, 5 to 10 acres of land, you could raise enough food to support your family. Here's my global answer, and you and I have talked many times. I am not a gold bug per se. I am an advocate of holding resources that should increase in value in a real economy. And a fan of gold as an insurance policy, not as an investment. But I think land is going to be increasingly valuable in the future. And I would discriminate between housing and land. I just read an article this morning about housing prices in the UK, and they've gone from, I think, £225,000. They've dropped by £35,000 in the last year. In Canada, in the United States, certainly in the UK, housing prices were so overblown, they have to crash. However, when that happens, and it's happening now, land prices could get quite reasonable. You're in Spain right now. You're about maybe 60 or 80 miles from me as the crow flies, and land's very cheap, very reasonable there.
Yeah, and we're taking a bit of a trip here to Spain, kind of the Basque Country, and it is one of the most beautiful, it's probably actually the most beautiful area I've ever seen. We met up there in France. It was great to meet you. We'll maybe put a photo up here, and maybe I'll tell a fact story this time at the end of the interview. But it was great to meet you there. We do have a few more questions from viewers. Gerald wants to know, will the debt market collapse cause all other fiat currencies to collapse worldwide and cause banks outside the U.S. to fail too? What would be the way out of this for the world?
Hey, the answer to that is yes. And the answer to the way out is to go to a gold and silver-based monetary system. And it would be dead easy to do. You could do it overnight. I have said for many years that no one will ever go to a gold-based system voluntarily. But and I cannot emphasize this enough. The threat of World War III is exceptionally real. The threat of a oil embargo, I think, is as close to 100% as you can get, and it will stop the financial system in its tracks. And the only thing that I can hope for, and it's a dismal hope at this point, is that there would be some adult leadership that would stand up and say, look, we need to use this as an opportunity to clean up this system.
You've talked about a debt jubilee in the past as a possible kind of solution to this debt-based system. We have a viewer question on that. The viewer asks, in the old days, quote unquote, the jubilee meant that the king forgave debts the people owed. Now most of the debt is owed by the government to the people. So now how is this jubilee supposed to work?
The interesting difference between 5,000 years ago and today is that a jubilee was something voluntary by the leadership, and today it's not going to be voluntary. If you can imagine an EMP weapon being deployed, which would be very easy to do, it would literally fry every computer in the area. You could drop an EMP 300 miles over Kansas, and it would fry every computer in the United States. Okay, the debt could literally disappear, not voluntarily, not anyone making the decision. It could bang. Okay. The United States government no longer has control of the monetary system. I've said, and I've got to admit I was wrong. I mean, 7 months ago, I would say in the next 6 months, we're going to have bigger changes than in the last 50 years. In the next 6 weeks, we could have bigger changes than in the last 5,000 years. There are things going on that are so serious, and rather than a voluntary jubilee by the government, the money could just evaporate. The financial system could come to a screeching halt.
In such an event, I know a lot of people are calling for bail-ins, saying that that could be a possibility. Stephen was wanting to know, what is your opinion about the possibility of bail-ins of brokerage accounts with stock ownership?
From a legal point of view, somebody sent me something, and evidently there have been laws passed in both the EU and in the United States that there could be bail-ins of brokerage accounts. All of this presupposes the government has control, and I just believe things are going to spin out of control so quickly that it doesn't make any difference what the government says they're going to do. Events will overtake the system. Things are going to happen too fast to react to.
How do we prepare now so we can, help our friends and family when this all takes place?
Have spare food, keep spare oil or diesel or gasoline for a vehicle, keep some cash as long as it might be good. And I've never said this before, and I am not a religious person. It would be a good time to get right with God.
I think it's important to really think about those deep questions and consider, what is the truth and how can I, align my life to that, especially in these trying times here. We do have a few more viewers' questions here. With regard to mining stocks, which is something that you cover quite a bit, and I guess we'll see, as this all plays out, how much what things actually matter and what don't. But the viewer asks, will there be a minor tax loss selling this season?
There will be a tax loss selling season. I'm thinking about writing an article. And even though the mining stocks have been absolutely clobbered since March, it's a great time to put stink bids in. I don't think you will ever see mining stocks cheaper than they will be between now and mid-December.
And what about precious metals themselves? I know we've seen quite a run in the last few months or weeks or months here. Do you think they're going to get cheaper as well in this scenario?
I don't think so. Now, I don't think there's a war premium per se. I had predicted on September 28th, and of course, that's 2 weeks. Well, it's 10 days before the attack on October 7th. I had predicted gold, silver, platinum, palladium were going to turn, and they did turn. But I don't think there's a war premium. Should it get much worse, or should there be an oil embargo? I don't think you can put a number on what gold and silver could go to. Gold is really close to, I think it's 1980 today. It's like 4% lower than the highest it's ever been. There's a total disconnect between gold stocks and gold itself. And I think gold's going to hit a new high.
Now, as for, you mentioned obviously an oil embargo and kind of coming full circle here, it seems like if we see that energy prices spike and we could see hyperinflation, are there any other indications of hyperinflation that you see that people should be looking out for? This viewer wants to know, in the traditional sense, is money velocity a reliable indicator of hyperinflation?
I don't think so. I don't think it's money velocity nearly as much as it is the amount of money that's been created. Now, I have something written down. I'm going to see if I can find it. I think the United States has printed. Oh, okay, here it is. And this is a scary number. I mean, it's scary to me, and I'm 77. This is from Zero Hedge on the 25th of October. The U.S. just added $600 billion in debt in 1 month. What? 600 billion in 1 month? Are you kidding? And it's going to get worse. So the issue isn't velocity. The issue is quantity. You pump $600 billion into debt, boy, when that safe hits the ground, okay, there's going to be an explosion like you've never seen before. We are seeing catastrophic potential events, and we're seeing zero leadership. So we're in a dangerous time. The United States financed 90% of the French effort in Indochina into 1954. And the Vietnamese refer that to as the French War. And then the United States got involved after the Geneva Convention in 1954 that separated North Vietnam from South Vietnam. And it went on until 1975. The total cost of the Vietnam War in constant dollars was about $600 billion. So we fought a war for over 20 years, and it only cost $600 billion. To increase the debt $600 billion in 1 month is beyond consideration. That is hyperinflation. So we need a nice fact story.
So we were meeting up in France, and we were sitting down for dinner, actually lunch, and then we were chatting away, and you had facts right next to you on the right. And when we got up after we paid the bill and everything, you took up his leash, and there was an empty collar on there. And we looked around, and he was already out of the restaurant. So I don't know if he didn't like the food a lot. But
as you will recall, we passed one restaurant. It was totally packed. And we decided we couldn't go in there. And we came on another restaurant that was like 50 meters away, and it was almost empty. And that should have been a clue. I've had hundreds, perhaps thousands of meals in Europe, and that was easily the worst meal that I had ever had. And when I left, I looked around and I realized that everyone was drinking. They weren't particularly eating, and I realized we had made a catastrophic mistake. We should have been drinking our lunch rather than eating our lunch. But facts had actually been running around, going up to people, begging for food, saying what a rotten master he had, and nobody loved him, and he hadn't been fed in 3 months. And I'm going, you little rascal. But I thought it was the funniest thing I'd ever seen. I have never felt quite as stupid as holding a dog leash with a dog collar and going, I thought I had a dog on the end of this.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for lightening up the mood there, Bob. We really appreciate your time as always. If our people are interested in learning more, where can they find you?
321gold.com, and I've got about 10 books on Amazon, and there's something for everybody. And it's a good time for people to analyze their life and figure out what's important to them.
Bob, thank you so much for your time today, and God bless.
Thank you.
Miles Franklin Precious Metals is one of America's oldest and most trusted bullion dealers. Miles Franklin is A+ rated and accredited by the Better Business Bureau, licensed and bonded, and has 0 complaints ever registered. Here at Liberty and Finance, we are licensed brokers with Miles Franklin. To order, simply call us, discuss your needs, and we can let you know our live inventory, prices, and availability, and lock in your order over the phone. Once your order is locked, the price is held for you regardless of market fluctuations, and the metals are reserved for you awaiting your settled payment. Within 1 business day of ordering, you will receive an email invoice detailing the order and payment instructions. Miles Franklin accepts payments by bank wire, ACH or electronic check, money order, check mailed priority mail, and cryptocurrency. The fastest forms of payment are bank wire and cryptocurrency. Upon settled payment, metals will ship out within 3 to 5 business days. You will receive tracking information via email. Domestic shipping charges are $15 for any order under 500 ounces of silver or 10 ounces of gold. For orders larger than that, domestic shipping is free. The package will be boxed, fully insured, and labeled discreetly, with no indication of the contents inside. For your privacy, the name Miles Franklin will not even be on the package. To talk to myself, Kaiser, my brother Elijah, or my father Dunnigan, call 1-888-81-LIBERTY. That's 1-888-815-4237.